Hey, I'm Inferno, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. So any followers of the Dream SMP probably know that the new SAD-ist animation is out, Hog Hunt. I really like this animation, I thought it was done really well, and I had enough thoughts on it that I wanted to do a full review. Now I know a lot of people have just watched it and said, oh, it looks really good, but I actually wanted to break down some of the animation concepts and see if I could actually sort of explain why the animation is so good and give it an artistic critique. But yeah, real quick before we get into it, on the off chance you haven't already seen Hog Hunt, the link to that video will be in the description, as well as SAD-ist's main channel. And of course, just like it says in her video, this video will contain some blood and spoilers from the events of the Dream SMP, so keep that in mind. But yeah, let's take a look at this. So in all of her animations so far, she seems to really like doing kind of a little bit of a slow opening, which I really like. I've also heard a few people commenting on that this one just looked a little bit more polished than the other ones. I think she's getting more confident with how she uses light. She's still not doing full color, but there's sort of a pinkish gray to the background, and then a bright yellow to the light. As you can see, just in that opening sequence, she's used light so many times. And she's also got these little particles floating through the air, which I didn't realize the first time. It wasn't after I'd seen this a couple times that I realized she has these floating particles. So I really like how she's using light in this one, and I think that's the main reason that this one looks a little bit more polished than some of her other ones. Her other ones are still great, but I think she's just getting better as an animator. Yeah, see, all of these little opening scenes, there we go. So they're all building up. You see what all the characters are doing, and then this is where it starts to get up to speed. Obviously you can see Technoblade is the main character, and she's illustrating that very well in this scene right here. If you just look at how this is put together, most of this frame is gray, and then Technoblade is jet black when he's first introduced here with the other characters with these glowing eyes. The reason she's done this is to draw the focal point in, so that Technoblade is obviously the main character. If you just look in this frame, you can tell that he's the focal point of this short story.
Hey, big you. Look what I found.
That frame is also really good. Right there. This frame is so different from anything else. The lines are a little sketchier. She only uses blue a few times, and there's a little bit of blue in here. And then it's white on a black background. It's kind of an odd choice, but it really makes this frame stand out. And I don't think it breaks from the art style. It's done really well.
Look what I found.
Yeah, she's also syncing this to the music really well, which is not necessarily easy to do as an animator. That's kind of its own skill, is syncing motions to music, and she's very talented when it comes to that. She knows how to use her frames well, so that they all move in sync with the beats, and it just gives everything she's telling in the story a lot more power.
So the plan is simple. We find...
Oh, I love that little detail right there. Look. Yeah, when it shows Techno right there, he's wearing glasses over his mask, and it's just a little detail that I've never really seen before. She does a lot with sort of his outfit in this one that she hasn't done before. He's pretty much always pretty in the shadows and wearing armor, and it shows him just wearing kind of normal clothes with his hair down and glasses. And I think the reason that she's drawn him more like this is to sort of humanize him as a character, so that you can empathize with him in this story more.
We find and we kill Technoblade.
Still keeping the beat with the animation. It's so good.
I choose blood. No. Oh, no.
The smoke effect was really good there. She kind of repeats that scene from earlier. If we go back to... yeah, this one right here. And then she kind of in the second scene where he throws down the potions.
I choose blood. No. Oh, no.
Yeah, she brings it back. So in both of those, Technoblade is kind of dark with glowing eyes, and there's smoke all around him. So she's kind of done that twice, so she must really just portraying Technoblade in that way. I love the emotion that she shows in these characters. You can see, you can hear it in Tubbo's voice, and then she's matched the animation so perfectly. She makes him look so scared. Right there, yeah, you can see, and look, his eyes aren't actually facing towards where the character would be, so he's not looking at Technoblade in this scene. He's deadlocked on the blade of the sword.
That horse, Quackity.
Oh, I love that right there. Okay, so there's something cool happen right there that she's really good at. Okay, so she does this a lot in her animations, but that scene right there was just a particularly good example of it.
You get away from that horse.
Okay, so she turns. She does a turn there, and that's just a really good, like, she can work within her space really well. So we were looking at him from the other side just a second ago. Now we flipped around. We're seeing Technoblade from the other side. He's mostly in focus, and then Quackity and the horse are not in focus. And then watch this. Okay, now Quackity and the horse come into focus, and Technoblade goes out of focus. What she's doing right here is she's making the scene seem more real by replicating how a camera, like how the lens of a camera works, and she's manually drawing in that effect. Okay, now we're slowing down again. We're kind of focusing on... Now this is much brighter. Like, okay, so we did like kind of like a whiteout, and then instead of the kind of like that dark, almost pinkish gray, now we're going to a very light yellow. There's no grays in those last two frames. I love that. Oh my gosh. This is like so serious. This is such a serious scene. And then... Oh, it's so good. Technoblade. Oh man. Alright, good. I love that. So you see that the rope is broken, and then you can see kind of like shock in his face. Now, so far we've been building up this character throughout the entire animatic, and now you see like almost like a little bit of terror in his eyes. You can also see him holding the totem in his hand right there, so he's got it with him. And then look, instead of like a pupil, like you see the anvil start to come in like where the pupil should be. Just that placement right there is so good. Alright, now here's where things get really cool. This is the main thing I want to break down. Alright, totem. And then that sequence. Okay, that right there is like the main thing that everybody has been freaking out about. So I'm going to super slow that down. Okay, the totem starts to fall down. And then as it rotates out. Alright, and we see that motion there. So we have like basically just swooshing lines. Alright. Okay, and then a lot happens there really fast. So there are a couple things that she skipped, probably because she couldn't extend, like she only had so many frames to work with. So, but right now we have a lot of twisting lines, and lines that are curved are meant to show motion, right? And so right now she's showing a lot of motion. And when we start off here, so that big tan band sort of like swirled into this right here. And so now we can see the bottom of his shirt. We can see his skull. We can see like a little bit of blood spatter. And then just these green lines. And I love this because she needed to just convey a lot of motion in this scene. And she already had a lot of blood, but she needed something that would contrast with the color of the blood. So I think it was because she had green as the eyes of the totem in the totem frame. That's why she decided that green would also be a good color to use here. Also contrasts with the red of the blood. And so yeah, she's just drawing in motion lines where she wants the motion to go. And I think this just shows that she's a really talented animator. The fact that she's confident enough to just draw where the motion should be. All right. So then a couple more frames. So you can see he's kind of like arching his head back. So it's almost like also his mouth opened. So it's kind of like indicating like kind of like a scream, like a pain effect. But obviously he can't actually have any expression because there's no skin on his face. And then also watch where the blood is going. So the blood is swirling around his neck bones right there, and also around his skull. And it's going like around his mouth and into his nostrils and into his eye. So it's swirling up out of his clothes and into his skull. And we're also seeing like these skin lines like start to also wrap around as like an outer layer. And her motion here is starting to rely more on the blood and skin because she has more of it in frame. And so those green lines are fading out a little bit. Okay, right there. Let me back that up. Oh yeah, I really love this frame. This frame is so good. So she's showing like kind of like the wrapping around and the blotchiness of the skin. It's like wrapping up. I'm pretty sure this is as far back as the head goes. So he's almost looking straight up right here. And then there's so much blood in this scene, but she does it so well. So it's crisscrossed over the back of the skull. It's sort of like splashing into the eye. Like it's just, there's so much motion and energy here. And I think this is like the main frame of the whole scene that makes this little sequence look so cool. Okay, right there, something super cool happened. Alright, so she was just using motion lines. She was using motion lines to to wrap all the way around, like first with the green lines leading in, and then the green lines led into the blood lines, and then the blood lines led into the skin lines, right? And they were all super curvy motion lines. And then in that last 2 frames, the frame before this one and then this frame, suddenly the blood splotches on the outside, instead of being like blurry blobs that go all around, suddenly they turn into super straight red lines. And the thing about straight lines is in animation, straight lines show direction. So it shows that everything was swirling around, and then suddenly these turn into straight direction lines, to show just a lot of like force and energy as like, you know, his skull is getting reformed and then gets sucked in right at the end. And then you can also see the green lines that were swirling around. Now they're like zigzagged to sort of like act as sutures between the skin. And it's just, she's put a lot of thought into this scene. This was obviously like the biggest like sequence of the animatic. This was my favorite one. This is the one that everybody like paused at and like, wait, what just happened? And she definitely took her time animating this. And it's so good. You know, she really showcased how talented of an artist she is. She's very confident. She knows what she's doing, and she pulled it off really well. And then, all right, so then like, then the skin like finishes wrapping around. You also see like the hair come into play. Now I'm pretty sure in the previous scenes you didn't see like the hair starting to form. It just, now that the skin is there, you kind of see like, okay, so like he has like features now, right? And then yeah, you can see the skin start to close up, and you can see a little bit of the green and the red like underneath. And then it finishes out, and now you really get like the full, so after all of that happened, you get like the full expression on his face and the expression of pain. And then, okay, so part of the reason that this works so well and it looks like such a hardcore scene is because he looks like he's actually getting smashed through by an anvil. Now, again, like in the game, in Minecraft, you know, a totem of undying, it just regenerates your HP, right? But what she's done here is she's gone through, so far, all this animation. She's showed Technoblade at his cabin, Technoblade getting attacked. She showed him as like a shadowy figure, and then she showed him like in shackles, like looking kind of like, you know, scared. She's gone through all these steps of humanizing who Technoblade is as a character, and then she shows him in immense physical pain. And what this does is it shows the audience that like, essentially, yeah, he walked it off, like he came back, but the character still went through all the pain of actually being smashed through by an anvil, and it just makes him look like really scary and tough, and it really like it just makes Technoblade look super cool. Also, real quick, I think some people might have missed that his boots here are actually pig hoofs. Cool little detail that I liked. He turns around, there you've got him and Quackity. And then she does something interesting. So she uses like 3-dimensional space a lot in her animations. And then here, she actually goes to like a classic 2D animation fight. And like, I don't know, I think a lot of people, they start out with this kind of animation before they can do things that look more 3-dimensional. And she's kind of gone back to the basics here. But like, she's framed it really well with the rocks. Like, if you look at like the rocks on the top and the bottom, what those are actually doing, they're framing the scene, right? And so they're drawing more focus onto these characters. And I think the reason she's done 2-dimensional, like a more 2-dimensional look for this scene, is just to like draw attention to this fight, because she's used her space so well throughout the other animation. Like, you see her rotate, you see her show you environments, and then right here she wants to do something different, so you really pay attention to this fight, and she's decided to go to a more classic 2D animation style. And then he catches the axe, flips over, flings it, and then we're back to a very good sense of space. Watch what happens next. Like that spin right here, it like, all right, now right here, he's got his pickaxe, right? And again, you can see that little like light glare like right on the metal. She's been doing that a lot in this animatic. All right, we're gonna slow that down. So you can see the slash motion, you can see him winding up the pickaxe. And then you can see right there, that frame. Okay, so like you just see the slash, and it only looks like that for one frame. But even though I think a lot of people missed what was actually happening in this frame, this is such a good frame. Look at this. You can kind of see like almost like a torn lip there, like on his upper lip. You can also see in his pupils, Quackity's pupils. instead of making like round, fully filled in pupils, she's gone with like the sketchy, distorted look, which indicates just a lot of like surprise and distress. A lot of animators actually use that style of pupils to show a character's winded, so it just really shows that he's taken off guard by this attack. And then also, if you notice, so right in the mouth area, where the pickaxe is actually crossing over his mouth, there's kind of a gap in his teeth. And Technoblade says, "I'll put this pickaxe through your teeth, Quackity." Even though you can't see like a tooth being flung out, it kind of indicates that he actually did knock out Quackity's tooth in this scene. And then we bring in Tommy, which he hasn't really been in this animation, and then he's kind of here.
Not even Philza. I have been working on just a little.
Yeah, and this is everybody's favorite line. Let's go.
You see this wall?
She hasn't added too many more sound effects right there. This was the main one I noticed. She definitely added that like screeching door effect in place of the pistons. I think that was the biggest audio change that she's done. Again, great expression. You know, she can really draw emotion really well.
Welcome home, Theseus.
Yeah. And then and then it closes up Dream SMP Hog Hunt. I like this little logo that she's made for it. Any talented animator knows that if you want to publish like a short animatic like this, you need to brand it kind of like you would brand like a short film. And so she's made like a full title screen to close out on. Which is, again, another little detail that usually you only see from really talented animators. And she obviously is a talented animator. Yeah, and then she closes out with that eerie laugh. So yeah, that's basically the whole thing. That's my review of Hog Hunt. Again, I just wanted to give an artist's perspective. I'm not as good at drawing characters or animating as she is. You know, I'm nowhere near her skill level, but I have dabbled in both of those things before. So yeah, I just wanted to give like a more complex perspective than, oh, that looked cool. So hopefully I've highlighted some of the reasons why this animatic was so good and so artistically well done. But yeah, this is my fun little animation review for today. So again, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you stick around. Most of the time I just post gameplay videos, but I might do an odd video here and there like this one. But yeah, until next time, later nerds!